Welcome. Let's dive straight into one of the most tested and honestly most misunderstood areas in the whole financial reporting syllabus: subsequent expenditure. The question at the heart of today is short, but it trips up thousands of students. When we spend money on an asset we already own, do we capitalize it or do we expense it? Here's why this matters. Get it right, and you protect easy marks in the exam and make sound decisions at work. Get it wrong, and you walk straight into the examiner's traps. So over the next few slides, we'll deconstruct exactly what IAS 16 says, step by step, until this feels like second nature. Let's start where every strong answer starts, by asking what the examiner is really testing.
Before we touch a single number, let's deconstruct the learning objective itself. The wording is identify, compute, and apply subsequent expenditure that may be capitalized, distinguishing between asset and expense items. Notice there are really 4 skills hidden inside that one sentence. First, identify. This means classify the expenditure as capital or revenue. The examiner wants to know whether you can recognize the nature of a cost before you calculate anything. Where students slip up is jumping straight to the maths without classifying first. Second, compute. Here you apply the correct accounting treatment. Either capitalize the cost into the asset's carrying amount or expense it through profit or loss. The common stumble is confusing the depreciation on a new component with depreciation on the original asset. Third, apply. This is about professional judgment when the classification simply isn't obvious. And this is exactly where marks are won and lost. Be careful not to assume that every big expenditure must be capital. And fourth, distinguish. You need to articulate the difference between asset items, which sit on the balance sheet, and expense items, which hit the income statement, always with clear reasoning. Remember, stating a conclusion without explaining why earns you nothing. So with those 4 skills in mind, let's look at the actual rule that drives all of them, the IAS 16 Capitalization Test.
This is the core concept the entire topic rests on. IAS 16, paragraph 7, sets out 2 conditions. And here's the crucial part. Both must be met for subsequent expenditure to be capitalized. If either one fails, you expense it immediately. Condition 1, future economic benefits. In plain terms, it must be probable that future economic benefits associated with the item will flow to the entity. The real test is whether the expenditure enhances the asset, not merely maintains it. Patching something up to keep it running is maintenance. Making it better, faster, or longer lasting is enhancement. Condition 2, reliable measurement. The cost of the item can be measured reliably. In practice, this is usually the easy part. It's typically just the invoice price plus any directly attributable costs. So hold on to this golden principle. Spending that maintains the asset's original standard is expensed, while spending that improves it is capitalized. Keep that distinction close, because next we'll break expenditure down into the 3 types you'll meet in the exam.
Every piece of subsequent expenditure you'll ever face falls into one of 3 categories. The trick is to identify the category first and then apply the treatment, never the other way around. Type 1, repairs and maintenance. This simply restores the asset to its original condition. There's no enhancement at all. So we always expense it through profit or loss in the period it's incurred. Picture replacing a worn-out tire on a delivery truck. It gets you back to normal, nothing more. Type 2, major inspections and overhauls. If an inspection cost was initially capitalized as a separate component, then the replacement cost is capitalized and the old component is derecognized. Routine inspections, on the other hand, are simply expensed. Think of a mandatory aircraft engine overhaul every 5,000 hours. Type 3, improvements and upgrades. This enhances the asset beyond its original standard. More capacity, a longer life, or better efficiency. So we capitalize it and depreciate over the revised useful life. For example, fitting a more powerful engine that increases a vehicle's load capacity. 3 clean buckets. Now let's put them to work on a real worked example.
Let's apply the test to a manufacturing scenario. A company owns a machine that cost $100,000 with accumulated depreciation of $40,000 and a remaining life of 5 years. During the year, 3 separate expenditures come in. So let's treat each one in turn. Expenditure A, $8,000 of routine servicing. The treatment here is to expense it. Why?
Because it only maintains the machine's original standard. There's no future economic benefit beyond what we already expected, so it goes straight to profit or loss. Expenditure B, $25,000 on a new component that extends the machine's life by 3 years. This one we capitalize. We have probable future benefits, that extended life, and it's reliably measurable. So we add the $25,000 to the carrying amount and revise depreciation over the new total of 8 years. Expenditure C, $15,000 on a legally required safety upgrade. This is the subtle one. We capitalize it too. Without the upgrade, the machine simply cannot operate. So the spending enables future benefits. It isn't optional maintenance, so we add it to the carrying amount. See how the same two-condition test cuts cleanly through all three? Now let's turn to what the examiner actually rewards in your written answers.
Here's a mark saver that students constantly overlook. ACCA command verbs are precise, and your answer structure has to match the verb you're given. Let's look at 3 of them. If the verb is calculate, show the numerical treatment. State whether the cost is capitalized or expensed, give the amount, and show the depreciation impact. And always show your workings. If it's explain or describe, state the principle, apply it to the scenario, and then conclude. A great phrase to lean on is, this expenditure does or does not enhance the asset beyond its original standard. Because, and then you give the reason. And if it's discuss or evaluate, present both sides where the classification is borderline. Then recommend a treatment with justification. This is where professional judgment earns you the most marks. Now, here's what does not earn marks. Simply stating that it's capital expenditure without explaining why the IAS 16 criteria are met. A conclusion with no reasoning is worth 0. Keep that firmly in mind as we walk through the specific traps where students lose marks.
Let's talk about the examiner traps, the predictable places where students lose marks. There are 4 to watch for. Trap 1. Size does not determine treatment. A $500,000 expenditure can still be an expense if it only maintains the asset. Students assume large equals capital, but always apply the IAS 16 test, never the size test. Trap 2. Legally required does not mean automatically capital. A safety upgrade demanded by law could be either capital or expense. Ask one question. Does it enable future benefits that didn't exist before? If yes, capitalize. If it merely maintains compliance, expense it. Trap 3, forgetting to derecognize the old component. When you replace a component, the carrying amount of the old part must be removed and charged to profit or loss. Students capitalize the new cost but forget to strip out the old and end up double counting the asset. Trap 4, ignoring the revision of depreciation. After capitalizing, you must review the remaining useful life and residual value. That's IAS 16, paragraph 51. Skip this in a calculation question and you lose method marks. Avoid these 4 traps and you're already ahead of most candidates. Now let's see how all this plays out in the real world.
Let's ground the theory in how real organizations actually handle these decisions. Because subsequent expenditure isn't just an exam topic, it's a workflow that involves several teams. Start with the finance department. When expenditure is capitalized, the fixed asset register is updated, and the team prepares a capitalization schedule documenting the nature of each cost, the IAS 16 rationale, and the revised depreciation. That paper trail is gold. Next, the audit engagement. Auditors perform cutoff testing and inspect invoices to verify classification. They'll challenge management on borderline items, especially large repairs near the year-end, which can be a red flag for profit manipulation. Then, internal controls. A capital expenditure approval policy sets a monetary threshold. Anything above it needs board approval and a formal business case. Again, this creates a clear audit trail. And finally, tax compliance. Capital allowances, that's tax depreciation, differ from accounting depreciation. A capitalized item might qualify for the annual investment allowance or writing down allowances, which is a key consideration in tax computations. With the real-world picture clear, let's test how well this is all landed. Time for some active recall, because retrieving an answer from memory is what actually locks it in. Let's try 2 quick questions. Question 1. What are the 2 IAS 16 conditions for capitalization? Pause for a moment and try to answer. The answer, 1, probable future economic benefits, and 2, the cost can be measured reliably. And remember, both must be met. Question 2. When must a component be derecognized? It's when the component is replaced or disposed of. Its carrying amount is removed from the asset register and charged to profit or loss. Now, let's apply that to some exam-style objective test questions. First, A company spends $12,000 on annual servicing of machinery. What's the correct treatment? The answer is B, expense it in profit or loss, because routine servicing maintains the asset. It does not enhance it. Second, a major engine replacement extends an aircraft's life by 4 years. The old engine's carrying amount was $80,000, and the new engine cost $500,000. What's the net profit or loss impact? The answer is B, $80,000. We derecognize the old component as an $80,000 loss, and we capitalize the new $500,000. And third, which expenditure should always be expensed? The answer is C, routine repairs and maintenance, because they never enhance the asset beyond its original standard. If those felt comfortable, you're in great shape. Let's pull everything together in the final summary.
Let's bring it all home. Here's the process flow in one breath. Identify the expenditure. Apply the IAS 16 two-condition test, then classify it as capital or expense. If it's capital, add it to the carrying amount, derecognize the old component, and revise depreciation. If it's an expense, charge it straight to profit or loss. Now, recall the top examiner traps because they're worth easy marks. Size does not equal capital treatment. Legally required does not mean automatically capital. Always derecognize the old component. Always revise depreciation after capitalizing. And above all, state why, not just the conclusion. Don't forget the real-world thread either. Finance teams maintain capitalization schedules. Auditors challenge borderline items. Internal controls require approval thresholds. And tax teams reconcile the accounting treatment with capital allowances. If you remember just one sentence from today, make it this golden rule. Does this expenditure enhance the asset beyond its original standard, generating probable future economic benefits? If yes, capitalize. If no, expense. And here's the final takeaway. If you can explain this topic, apply it to a scenario, identify the risks, and recommend an appropriate action, you are approaching ACCA examination standard. Master that, and subsequent expenditure turns from a feared trap into a guaranteed source of marks. Now go and earn them.